Welcome to my channel. In this video, we investigate on graphing absolute values. To understand the concept of absolute values and solving absolute value equations and inequalities, please refer to the previous videos posted in this channel. Open GeoGebra Classic and in the input bar type y is equal to absolute value of x. You can see the parent graph displayed on the screen. We are going to investigate the transformations on this. So now type y is equal to absolute value of x plus 1. You can see the graph gets shifted 1 unit to the left. Let us type y is equal to absolute value of x plus 2. What happens here? The graph is shifted 2 units to the left. Can you guess what happens when y is equal to absolute value of x plus 4? What is the translation done here or transformation done here? The graph gets shifted to 4 units to the left. So these are our cases of horizontal translation to left. That is, the graph gets shifted to the left. Now let us see the case where the graph gets shifted to the right. So for that, type y is equal to absolute value of x minus 2. You can see the number is subtracted within the absolute value or the bars. So here in this case, the graph gets shifted 2 units to the right. If you give absolute value of y is equal to absolute value of x minus 4, what is happening here? The graph gets shifted 4 units to the right. So these are all cases of horizontal translation. That is, the graph is getting shifted either to left or right is what is horizontal translations of the parent graph. Now let us see about vertical translation of the parent graph. So for that, what you have to do, you should give y is equal to absolute value of x plus 2. Have you noticed that the number is added outside, not inside the vertical bar? So here it is moved 2 units upward. So every number added to the absolute value, you can see that the graph is shifted upwards or translated upwards. So here you can see the graph gets shifted 4 units upward. This is how you move the graph downward. Say y is equal to absolute value of x minus 2 or y is equal to absolute value of x minus 4. Will all move the graph that much unit downward. So these are examples of vertical translations. Either upward or downward is what is vertical translations. So this is a kind of transformation which you call it as translation of graph. Now let us see how the graph gets stretched or shrink vertically. So for that, you have to type y is equal to a absolute value of x, where a can have different values. Say for example, y is equal to 2 absolute value of x, or y is equal to 4 times absolute value of x, or y is equal to 8 times absolute value of x. All this case, you can see that there is a vertical stretch or an elongation, or you can see the graph get narrower than the original graph or the parent graph. So these are the cases when a is greater than 1. A is the number which is preceding absolute value of x. What happens when a is lesser than 1 or otherwise 0 to 1, if it is between 0 to 1? So y is equal to a absolute value of x, where a is between 0 and 1. So that is y is equal to 0.5 absolute value of x, or y is equal to 0.25 absolute value of x. So in this all cases, we can see that the graph get wider than the parent graph. So here actually a acts as a slope. So these are all examples of vertical shrinking or otherwise wider. Graph is wider. Earlier the graph is narrower than the original graph. Now the graph is wider than the original graph or the parent graph. Now let us see the case where there is a horizontal shrink. When you give y is equal to absolute value of 2x, where 2 is inside the vertical bars. So this is the case when A is negative. When you say A is negative, say y is equal to minus 2 absolute value of x. In that case, you can see it get reflected below the x-axis. Now look at this cases. Y is equal to absolute value of 2 inside x, inside the absolute bars. Y is equal to absolute value of 4x. Or otherwise, y is equal to absolute value of 0.5x. Y is equal to absolute value of 0.25x. So here and all you can see that there is a horizontal shrink or otherwise a stretch depending on the A value. If A is greater than 1, there is a horizontal shrink. When A is between 0 and 1, you can see a horizontal stretch. So these are all the cases what we have investigated now. When there is a horizontal translation to the left, when there is a horizontal translation to the right, when there is a horizontal stretch or a horizontal shrink, when there is a vertical stretch or a vertical shrink. There are also other cases which you call it as reflection. That is again a kind of transformation. So when does reflection happen is when, for example, you give it as y is equal to negative of absolute value of x. In that case, you see a reflection is along the x-axis. Suppose when you say y is equal to absolute value of minus 6, you see there is a reflection along the y-axis. So please do go ahead and explore all this. Try working out on this GeoGebra and investigate that this absolute value functions and see how the graph get transformed or translated or reflected or how it is being stretched or dilated. Hope you enjoy watching this video and got trained on a new skill. Now it's your turn to try and explore it. Thanks for watching the video. Please share and like the video if you find the video useful.